Hey you! So it turns out that when you start making YouTube videos again, this little number increases and gives you dopamine. However, sometimes people comment on my videos and actually have expectations and suggestions. So naturally I caved into Epic Duck 3449's suggestion at non-existent gunpoint, and here we are. Let's rank... oh nuts, there's even more of these than there were shots. Let's rank all 137 ability cards in Touhou Koryudo Unconnected Marketeers and Black Market a Bullet Filier 100th Black Market. Naturally, like before, this ranking is based on my experience as a normal 1cc'er, a basic ass dude who isn't the newly crowned king of Gamerland. Also, instead of letters, I'm going to have slightly more descriptive tiers this time around. So, behold the tiers I've set up. Must buy on site. This is self-explanatory. If you see this ability card and can afford it, under most circumstances you should buy it without thinking. Skill expressive. These are ability cards which are very good provided you get good and figure out how to use them. Generally good. These are your typical options that are worth the money you spend on them and do their job well, but aren't noteworthy otherwise. Character specific. Naturally exclusive to unconnected marketeers, this tier is for ability cards that only really shine in the hands of certain characters, while being redundant or bad in the hands of others. Crutch item. Think of this as an inverse tier to skill expressive. These are only helpful to players who are pretty bad at the game and are probably not going to make a 1cc even with these items' assistance, unless they get better at the game's fundamentals. Unremarkable. These are items which are just nah. I'll buy them if there aren't any better options, but certainly not my first choice. Waste of money. Exactly what it says, the tier for items which are way overpriced for the effect they're given. Actively harmful. This tier is for the cards that aren't just a waste of money, but will actively screw you over. Naturally I'll have to explain myself for these ones in case there's like 5 people who actually like these cards. This video is going to be split into 8 sections: Consumables, Equipment, Passives, Actives. Then the same for BMoB 100. You guys presumably play Touhou, you can multiply 4 by 2. I hope. Without further preamble, let's get into it. Consumables. Let's not kid ourselves, buying consumables in means you're already in dire straits 9 times out of 10. You only get to buy 5 times in and consumables can't be pre-equipped on start for obvious reasons. For you to waste one of your 5 buy opportunities on a fucking 80 gold life card means you're either broke or insane. Speaking of which, the life card. As I just said, this is one of 5 buy opportunities. It's cheap, so I can hardly call it a waste of money, but it's a really suboptimal use of a buy opportunity. Unremarkable. Spell card, exactly the same issue as the life card. It's free, but this is one of your 5 shops and you're using it to buy a bomb. Unremarkable. Money comes and goes on its own. Now, if you're really a broke enough bitch to need this is honestly a better use of your shop slot than a bomb or a life card, but like, what have you done to be this broke in unconnected marketeers? Are you just not collecting funds? Why would you so actively refuse to play into the game's central mechanic? Get good, this shit's a crutch item. Ringo Brandango. Much like the life and spell cards, this is one of your 5 buy opportunities and you're spending it on something you can easily just get by playing the goddamn levels. Is the power loss you incur on losing a life rough? Sure, but to waste a buy slot on this? Absolutely pointless. It's cheap, but this is unremarkable. Phoenix's Tail. Now this is the only consumable which is both pricey enough to risk being a waste of money and impactful enough to be worthy of any discussion. 3 lives in a single shop is a powerful effect for the price. Not gonna lie, when I was much worse at unconnected marketeers, this was an ability card I was always happy to see. But these days I never buy it given unconnected marketeers is actually quite generous with resources. I think if you're good enough to 1cc the game, this item becomes redundant and beyond consideration. Therefore it's a crutch item. Equipment. Alright, onto some real ability cards, the equipment cards. Something about surrounding my sprite with a bunch of options pleases the monkeys in my brain, so I'll occasionally do equipment only runs of just to see what crazy configurations I end up with. At any rate, equipment tends to be offensive, but there's a few defensive equipment options thrown in there. Let's get to them. Yin Yang Orb, Amulet. I mean, what's there to say? Is Reimu's homing amulet active regardless of focus? It's basically free damage on stages and bosses alike. Generally good. Yin Yang Orb Needle. Effectively a straight up damage buff, but given this is the focus of Reimu, the one whose focus needles are middling by focus to headshot standards, at a price of having homing unfocused attacks, yeah, everything this does the laser Hakuro does better. Unremarkable. Mini Hakuro Laser. Well, speak of the devil. The mini Hakuro is fantastic for characters which have trouble with reliable damage right in front of them, while being mostly redundant for characters which are already hella damaging in front of them. As that turns out for that's a 50-50 split. Reimu and especially Sane benefit from this immensely, while Marisa and a well-played Sakia won't really notice a difference for the price. As such, it's character specific. Mini Hakuro Missile. While Marisa's focused missiles are amazing as a 4-option barrage with decent fire rate and hunkering down against less mobile enemies and bosses, this is just meh. A single slow missile at a slow firing rate, exploding. And this shit is more expensive than the Laser Hakuro. While I wouldn't call it a complete waste of money, Laser Hakuro does everything this does but better. Unremarkable. Made knife aimed. Much like the Missile Hakuro, this option is great with the context of being an ensemble that can be tightened and spread according to a player's will. Whereas a tiny, thin, not exactly damaging stream that waves about like the most miserably nerfed version of PCB Sakia B, this is crap. Not bad enough for waste of money, but definitely unremarkable. Made knife ricochet. This shit is silly. Like, there's more knife output and it's going all over the goddamn screen, making it weirdly brain dead when it comes to stages, but it just dares you to try and use it for bosses with vertical positioning. But then you correctly position yourself and it turns out it's barely doing more damage than the actually reliable to aim aimed knife variant. Combine this with being more expensive than the aimed variant and we're looking at a waste of money. Safe return amulet. Much like the missiles and aimed knives, this is one which is amazing as an ensemble on Sane while being decidedly meh as a standalone. There's some utility, like bombing enemies that come from the side like in stage 5 and 6, but it's too niche for its price and taking up a buy slot. Unremarkable. Shed Snakeskin Amulet. This is in some ways a more powerful but only forward-facing amulet orb. As such, it is generally good, but Sane already has them. Reimu has a more broadly applicable homing shot variant, and Sakia has her own means of broadening upward shooting range. Marisa, meanwhile, really benefits from this on stages for obvious reasons. Sis be shooting narrow, character specific. Half-half Ghost. Much like the Laser Hakuro, this one is primarily for characters that struggle to lay down damage straight ahead, sacrificing a little of the Hakuro's damage for a smidge of flexibility and range. Still, it gets character specific. Shanghai Doll. Much like the Shed Snakeskin Amulet, this is really good for characters that need a slightly broader range, shining especially when, say, you're a witch that's been trapped into a corner by some mean Mother Hubbard's bullet patterns and lack aimable knives, homing bullets or snacks. In other words, it's a Marisa must-have, but other characters can take it or leave it. Better than the Snake Amulet, but still character specific. Ice Fairy. It's just a random spread of bullets. It's alright on stages, reasonably priced for what it is, but are you really gonna waste your buy slot on it unless you have to? At least Kisan's art for it is adorable. Unremarkable. Backdoor. This would be an incredibly niche defensive equipment option, if not for the fact Shimata Tenkyu has not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 attacks where she spawns bullets underneath you, all begging to be cheesed the hell out of by this ability card. In addition, it makes any up and down hit and run strategy much safer by default. For any 1cc, an undeniable must buy on sight. Annoying UFO. I initially thought this would be unremarkable due to my long time away from then I played the goddamn game again. Holy crap, this one is so weirdly applicable. Jimbo the Yin Yang Wheel, Misumaru in general, Chimato's final attack, half of Megamu's non-spells. There's so much this UFO can help with. Of course it's orbiting slowly in a wide arc, so it's not exactly a game breaker, but this is still a worthwhile purchase. Generally good. Ancient Magatama. It's another bloody defensive equipment option, and as there's plenty of side-on attacks such as Jimbo the Yin Yang Wheel, several waves in Stage 5 and 6, and Megamu, this is once again a really valid and worthwhile buy. It also makes sideways readjustment easier, which is never something to complain about. Generally good. Passives. And we're on to the passive cards. These are oftentimes the most powerful and most expensive cards in the game. You don't have to think about cooldowns like actives, they're not reduced to simple offensive and defensive effects like equipment, and sometimes you have to alter your entire approach to use them successfully. It can also be literally unnoticeable. It truly is the duality of Touhou, and we're starting with a doozy. Blank card. Once you have the 3 starting card slots unlocked, this card is straight up guaranteed to make you worse off. To explain, let's go through the best possible scenario. You start with 3 ability cards you actually get to select, then after beating our favourite cat girl Michael, you get the blank card, giving up all your cards to suffer through stage 2. Then you give up all your money, then get all 5 of whatever the shop would be, regardless of if you'd want them or not. Now, if you started with 3 ability cards and didn't get the blank card, just, bought something from Mike, then something from Takane, you would have 5 ability cards. Ability cards that you actually got to choose, and if you don't suck, you'll also have funds remaining. Its literal only use is deliberately crippling yourself on the stage 5 shop to get the alternate ending where you give Chimata psychic damage. Actively harmful. Miser's advice. This is one of those cards you get when there's nothing better. It's not like it's overpriced and it's hardly cumbersome to have a wider collection radius, but yeah, it's not worth writing home about. Unremarkable. Offerings to a Sacred Mountain, aka the item for cowards who don't know how to auto-collect like a man. It's cheap, but the only reason you'd ever waste a whole stage's buy slot for this is if you're playing like I did when I was a stupid idiot baby, perpetually at the bottom of the screen and terrified. The definition of a crutch item. Death Avoidance Elixir. Now, I'm biased towards this item because it's an invaluable tool for my silly centipede runs, as while bombing resets the centipede's damage multiplier, the 2-bomb death negation triggered by this passive does not. This means using this passive, you can effectively do a no-life, technically no-bomb centipede run, while still getting hit every now and then. It's immoral, but it works. Still, in regular non-centipede runs, this only exists for players who can't death bomb or have too much ego to bomb generally. It's a crutch item. Lucky Rabbit's Foot. All this does is lengthen the window to death bomb. Ideal for scrubs who can't death bomb. Crutch item. Law of Survival of the Fittest. This is just a straight up damage buff regardless of power level, which is always bloody useful unless you're doing a pacifist run. Not much else to say, it's generally good. Sutra of Dharmatic Power. This is a damn powerful item, but it comes with a hell of an assumption that you are using your bombs enough to see significant benefits. Its resultant buff bombs are amazing, all being a spell card and a half's worth of skippage, but it's only really going to be worth the price with a bomb happy player who has no interest in dodging. And if the user can't dodge once they're out of bombs, whoops, it's just encouraging bad player habits. As such, it's a crutch item. Pebble Hat. I love the theming behind this one, what with Koichi being invisible in a sort of imaginary friend sense to most people. And while it's cheap, who the hell is going to use 1/5 of their buy opportunities just to ignore enemy collisions? Frankly, given Koichi's whole gimmick, a more interesting take would be if, say, enemies that would aim their shots at you would instead randomise their shots, as though they can't see you. As is, even at its cheap price, this is a waste of money. Bursting Red Frog. You'd think explosive regular shots would be amazing, like having Sanai's stage dominance but for everyone. Incorrect, it's honestly closer to an occasional damage buff against bosses and occasional enemy crowd suppressor. It's not useless, but it's not exactly worth its price either. Unremarkable. Gale Getter. This is one I honestly slept on for a while, and it's actually really fun to play with. Naturally, it's very good for stream readjustments and auto-collect up and downs, but the most fun interaction I've noticed with it is with Marissa's Master Spark. See, when you're Master Sparking, the game doesn't count you as firing projectiles, which means the Gale Getter's speed passive activates. Behold, you're a laser-spewing speedy hamburger. This one's skill expressive. Idle Defense Core. This would be a nifty passive, for half the price. The idea of having more defensive options with more power is clever, as is having a cooldown per option. The problem is the clear is basically like a single bullet's worth. I'm sorry, in a Danmaku game that shit just isn't enough for the price. Waste of money. Kageyahime's Secret Stash. This is a passive that outright requires you to die regularly to benefit from the on-death bombs. Passives that help you maintain a good run? Yeah, I like those. Passives that put a flimsy plaster on a bad run? No thanks. An obvious crutch item. Reliable Tanuki Apprentice. Much like Kag's Secret Stash, this is a passive which is assuming you're dying enough to regularly be at risk of dropping beneath 3 power, as its only function is making you incapable of dropping beneath it. Worse still, it's incredibly expensive for what is effectively an ego salve for players that are dying too often to feasibly 1cc. Waste of money. Danmaku Ghost. I like this one a lot. It's simple, but it's just rewarding you for doing what, as a Danmaku player, you should be doing anyway. Micrododging. Micrododge with this passive and occasionally you'll get a pleasant surprise. A disappeared bullet or two and perhaps a new path will open up. A lovely ability card I'll rank as skill expressive. Kiketsu Matriarch's Threat. This card is very good at what it does, and if you're going for a high point run, it's likely mandatory. But for every other context, a player that's good enough to make a 1cc is probably good enough to collect enough money to buy any ability card they want anyway. Reasonably priced for its effects, but ultimately a crutch item. Money is the best lawyer in hell. Oh, this one. I remember when I first played Unconnected Marketeers and thought this was OP in combination with Kiketsu Threat, but no. This one is absolutely miserable for one reason. The trade of money for death negation is not elective. Once you're out of bombs and you just want to take the L and die to restock on bombs, too bad. You're burning through all your money first. This means that if you're unlucky enough, a stage which would normally be a 2 bombs and a life deal will instead be a 2 bombs and all your money deal, crippling your ability to buy anything else for the rest of the game. Actively harmful. Physical enhancement Jizo. Hey, it's life fragments for nothing, that's pretty good, right? It's another case of a passive which is assuming you'll be eating shit, duct tape upon a wider problem, namely the players need to get good. As such, while useful, undeniably a crutch item. Spell Before the Fall. This is basically the Jizo, but more generous and for bombs. It's actually amazing for centipede or elixir runs, as a bomb at the end of every stage means that you are guaranteed to start a stage with at least 1 hit negation. But once again, aside from my fun and silly centipede gimmick runs, I have to be honest with myself and label this a crutch item. Maneki Neko with good business skills. It's okay. Yeah, that's about it. Having more shop items to choose from is never a bad thing, but it's just an inefficient use of your limited shops if you haven't got anything better to buy. Though as you're most likely to get this at Michelangelo's shop when you're most likely to be low on funds, it's a decent enough option if you're broke. Unremarkable. Yamawaro's shopping technique. This is a waste of a buy for anyone who isn't legitimately bad at collecting funds. It's not exactly breaking into my house and fucking my non-existent wife, but there's no real point in buying it unless I'm having the brokest bitch-ass run. Unremarkable. Yeah. Dragon Pipe. This is basically the Jizo but actually fun. Linking the life fragments you get with spell captures encourages gameplay that goes beyond I have lots of resources so I'll just bomb through every boss. Want to break the game over your knee with insane resource access? Earn it. I like this one despite the fact it typically leaves a good player with way more lives than they'd ever need for a 1cc. Skill Expressive. Gluttonous Centipede. I mentioned this bad boy in the Elixir and Spell Before the Fall rankings. It's really fucking good. It's a shame the advertised infinite scaling provided you don't die a bomb is actually capped at 1.8 times multiplier, but I imagine actual infinite scaling would be hilariously broken. A very cool reward for beating extra and a funny as hell passive that encourages a completely different playstyle, even in ethically bankrupt scrubs like me. Skill Expressive. Actives. Actives. I have a love-hate relationship with them. On one hand, they're very powerful, and the fact their effects are entirely in the player's control means they're generally more skill-expressive than the passives and equipment. On the other hand, I'm just some beardy Brit with a full-time job, and I'm already juggling enough simply by doing Danmaku at normal. As such, I often pass up actives because I just don't think they're worth the mental real estate, but that's a skill issue for me to deal with. Anyway, let's get ranking. Screen Border. Going in, I expected to rank this as a waste of money, but honestly the near instant cooldown and number of streaming waves in stages 3, 5 and 6 means that actually there's a few niche spots where this active shines. It's a niche but something to be grateful for when it is useful. Still not what I'd call generally good. For most of the game it is unremarkable. Miracle Mallet. This is the item you first start with for free with a fresh copy of and honestly it's not half bad. You need to recognise the disconnect between you and its hitbox, you need to account for the wind up, but it's a good chunk of damage, a decent localised clear, and a nice little cash injection. Used poorly it's dog shit, but in the right hands it can make a decent difference in a run. Skill Expressive. Keystone of Endurance. Okay, this shit lingers forever, and I think it's because it disappears based on how many bullets it absorbs. It's basically a better version of the idle defense core with a slightly longer cooldown and no unreliable power option bullshit. A very good option when it shows up. Generally good. Moon of Madness. This thing has a relatively short cooldown, is a valid defensive option, and clears as it travels upwards. It's a simple effect, but damn good if you're the sort to wield actives. Generally good. Esteemed Authority. Holy shit guys, this ability card is so fucking good. It slightly damages everything on screen and clears most of a given bullet spread. That is, it's basically a nerfed bomb. And if you happen to, say, be doing a run which involves no bombs or lives lost, involving a certain beast from Subphylum Myriapoda, it's practically mandatory, even in non-centipede runs. This is probably the most reliable active in the game, even for active scrubs like me. Must buy on sight. Vampire Fang. Another one which I thought would be a waste of money, probably because I bought it early on in my journey, tried it a few times, sucked ass while using it, then never bought it again. But coming back, replaying giving this ability card a chance, it's pretty good. Has a nice clear and wild damage at the risk of getting up close. Skill Expressive. Underground Sun. This fucking card, it almost made it onto actively harmful. Its insane damage and duration is offset by its ridiculous cooldown and the fact it costs power as well. But despite there already being blatant costs built into the card itself, it's an insult that's also expensive as all get out. It only takes 1 power on use and you'll probably only use it a couple of times a run, however, so I can't in good conscience put this in actively harmful. It is, however, a waste of money. Item Season. I never bought this, and as it turns out my evasion was 100% justified. The more you summon Lily White, the more bullets she produces, but her item drops never deviate from the pattern of bomb fragment, life fragment. As such, the most efficient use of this would be to just get the first 3 summons done, then never go to any extra effort again. It's on your own terms, but why would you ever put this in your active rotation? Waste of money. Heavy Bass Drum. It's got a short cooldown, clears immediately around you. It's basically a mini bomb for times when you're macro dodging and fenced in. I won't call it a must buy like Esteemed Authority, but it has a similar role and does it well. Generally good. Psychokinesis. This is effectively a short-term safe zone with moderate cooldown, a longer-term version of the bass drum. It especially shines in Chimata, but yeah, an unassuming but worthwhile purchase. Generally good. Spirit Power Sample Bottle. I actually never bought this before getting research footage for this video, and my instincts were fucking right. This shit encourages the worst habit of all, disregarding the value power has, and instead trying to bomb through attacks without getting good. Truth is, it's better to take the L, die, and get proper bombs. Sacrificing power for a bomb is effectively losing a life, but for a third of the value, seeing as you respawn with 3 bombs. So yeah, this is actively harmful. Great Tengu's Barley Rice. This is kind of the thematic opposite of the sample bottle. It's slow, it's steady, if you're low on power you instantly get another, but for me the true use comes from when you activate it at max power. You get a bomb fragment instead. This, along with a small local clear, it's just a nice, simple, steady stream of free resources. It's nothing spectacular, but it is generally good. BMoB Consumables. And like that, we're already at Black Market of Bullet Filler, or as the cool kids call it, BMoB. Like there's consumables, equipment, passives and actives to go through, and the first are consumables. Well, there's a couple weird ones added between games. All in all, we're not looking at anything exceptional on the consumables, just like unconnected marketeers. Let us begin. Money comes and goes on its own. Oh, and wouldn't you know, it's the bullet money equivalent of UM's pick this if you're a broke bitch item. Exact same placement, crutch item. Life card. Weirdly, in this game, where there's only 1 life before you become a 1 hit point wonder, the value of a life actually increases. Helping this is the fact it's stackable, getting more expensive with each purchase, making it feel balanced yet allowing you to set aside some bullet money if you have a bad feeling about the next wave. Actually generally good. No problem for a creator. This is basically a better version of Money Comes and Goes on its own once you have all the fun sports starter items in BMoB, as once you have them, all funds are worthless. Unlike Money Comes and Goes on its own, it doesn't waste the entire buying window either, but it's still using a buy opportunity that a good player won't need. Crutch item. Soot Covered Uchiwa. This is sort of like the life card in that it's a valid option should you have a bad feeling about the next wave or just want to get through to the next buy phase because you already have enough bullet money. It's not a bad choice, still it is willingly crippling the next round's earnings. Unremarkable. Sheep you want to count. Utterly pointless if you want any fucking satisfaction from this game. Wanna know this thing's only use? If you need to populate the fun starter market options because you haven't unlocked them all yet. Just buy a 100th black market to guarantee the one you'll get is one you haven't seen before, then buy this. Voila, it skips, you get the new option and you populate your funds market. But once you've unlocked everything, it's an exercise in futility. Even though you won't need future money, it still feels like a waste of money. BMoB Equipment. And like that, we're on to the equipment, and BMoB has a few extra options, but we're basically looking at the same rules as offense and defense. Not that there aren't exceptions, there's a few utility equipment options thrown in to mix things up. Come on, Texaco. Yin Yang Orb Amulet. Oh, would you look at that, the generally good homing option is now exclusively attached to a limited range character that arguably benefits the most from it. Generally good. Yin Yang Orb Needle. And like before, the Needle Orb is just a worse laser hackero, this time exclusively attached to a character who has a million better options to buffer straight ahead damage. Unremarkable. Mini Hackero Laser. Speaking of better options to buff straight ahead damage, here's a laser at your centre that consistently buffs your straight ahead damage, to a way better extent than the Needle Orb. When you know, it's generally good. Mini Hakuro Missile. And again we have a slow, shitty version of the Laser Hakuro, not even able to benefit from being part of a wider missile arsenal anymore. And I mean, it does what it purports for the money, but it's not getting better than unremarkable. E. Maid Knife Aimed. The fact you can only play as Marisa would theoretically make this a little more valuable, but in practice I usually end up just aiming it straight up and using it as, a downgraded Laser Hakuro. Unremarkable. E. Maid Knife Ricochet. Hilariously, this one is an upgrade from unconnected marketeers, as unlike you can only play as Marisa and you're mostly doing stage-style gameplay, so the indiscriminate spread is actually quite useful for the small cannon fodder enemies. Not exactly worth what you pay, but it's no longer a waste of money. Unremarkable. E. Safe Return Amulet. I've occasionally got use out of this because BMoB is effectively a randomised stage wave simulator and Marisa needs the range, but there's just not enough bullet output for this to be anything higher than unremarkable. E. Shed Snakeskin Amulet. Now that we're Marisa only, you probably know where I'm putting this. It's like Safe Return Amulet, only a hit is near guaranteed, and it perfectly compensates for Marisa's limited range. Generally good. Half-Half Ghost. It's a general damage and range buff that can be adjusted with focus, and is comparable to the Laser Hakuro. Generally good. Spare Half Ghost. It's like the Half-Half Ghost, only a little further out, making it a little less reliable for damage but better for expanding range. Otherwise it's basically on par. Generally good. Shanghai Doll. I initially deemed this a must-buy item, to the point that it was a starting part of my arsenal back when I played BMoB regularly. However, after a bit of realistic reflection, it's not exactly a must-buy, still compensates for Marisa's limited range very well, and tends to focus big fairies as you'd hope. Generally good. Ice Fairy. Oh look, it's the random scatter again, and once again it's cheap as fuck. This time she's brought friends, all of them themed similarly. Cheap but meh effects. As you may expect, unremarkable. E. Quiet Twinkling. It's meh side shooting that Chirino brought along with her. Unremarkable. Lunatic Silence. It's angled up and down shots that are still kinda meh. Unremarkable. E. Exuberant Powerlessness. It's fucking diagonal shots, still meh. Unremarkable. E. Stimulating Scales. It's all angles but very close range. Not even meh considering the insane playstyle you have to adopt to get any use out of it. Actively harmful. Yamanba's Kitchen Knife. If this was a boss simulator run, this would basically be a straight upgrade to the Missile Hakuro, but as it is, this is a stage wave simulator. You just aren't getting a good amount of use from a single slow powerful projectile like this for the price you pay. Waste of money. The Rabbit That Landed. It's a weird one, but honestly given the fact you're mostly doing stage waves, it's not a bad call to buy this. It's basically a delayed volley of weaker Missile Hakuro projectiles that'll actually explode over a decent range. Unremarkable. E. Backdoor. Without the promise of Chimata beyond the end of market set piece, this no longer has the niche it had in Oh, it's great for starting end of market with, but it's definitely lost its luster between games. Still has its occasional uses. Unremarkable. E. Annoying UFO. Honestly, because of all the waves in this game which come from the side, this defensive option has experienced a bit of a glow up. Not to mention it's a little bigger relative to the bullet field this time, making it slightly buffed on top of being favoured by the new meta. Must buy on site. Ancient Magatama. Honestly, because of all the waves in this game which come from the side, wait, I've said this before. Yep, just like the UFO, this one's become more useful between games. Must buy on site. Idle Defense Core. The more things change, the more things stay the same. Still expensive, still not clearing anywhere close to the price is worth. Waste of money. Offensive Jeweled Pagoda. I don't see what's so offensive about it. It isn't Ricky Gervais whenever he perceives a trans person might exist. Oh, it shoots lasers. At incredibly shitty angles, no less. Yeah, there's no two ways about it. You're never going to use this thing to its full potential. You're just going to glance moving squishies with it every now and then. Waste of money. Freewheeling Severed Head. This is that utility equip I mentioned, and honestly it's pretty good, but I kinda get distracted by it. My skill issue aside, having something to auto-collect bullet money while you focus on making even more with your magic circle is very convenient. But if you're good enough, you should be collecting your own bullet money without issue. Honestly, a crutch item. Laid Back Invertebrate. Basically a nerfed permanent version of the Endurance Keystone. However, it's so bloody tiny and there's so many side-on attacks in BMoB that honestly it's not worth the money you're paying for it. UFO does everything this does but better. Waste of money. Teacup Reimu. It's just shooting slow-moving adorable pillows complete with adorable art by Kisan. This shit deserves a new tier. Fucking adorable. Teacup Marisa. It's the same shit but with star pillows. Do you really expect me to rank this objectively or on the same scale as the rest? Fucking adorable. BMoB Passives. And like that, we're on to the passives. There was a lot of repeat performances in the equipment section, but I'll admit, the approach to passives was refreshing in that a lot of the returning character rep is tweaked fairly considerably to match the gameplay changes in BMoB. You'll know what I mean when I get to it, so let's. Blank card. Oh, would you look at that, we have the card that is literally just there for challenge running and saying hi to Uncanny Valley Notori. Basically just pristine self-confidence, but you also need to go through the waves. By design, it's actively harmful. Capitalist's Dilemma, or as folk of the modern age would call it, Notori Mangione. This shit is honestly hilarious and always leads to me buying eclectic as fuck builds. The cheap stackable shit I'd normally hoard up on could end up too expensive. Some shit that would normally be a waste of money is now too cheap not to pass up. And of course it's one big middle finger to arbitrary markets like cryptocurrency and the New York Stock Exchange from a thematic perspective. Furthermore, it allows you to face the true culprit and finish the goddamn game. This ability card gets its own tier above the rest. Based! Ringo Brand Dango. While buying power in UM was like paying for snow in Canada, here in BMoB it's one of two ways to increase power at all. It's stackable like many of the passive upgrades, and you genuinely feel the difference with every stack you get. Honestly, unless you have equivalent options you'd rather stack, this is a must buy on site. Physical Enhancement Jizo. While the Ringo Brand Dango increases the amount of shots you have and overall horizontal range, the Jizo now increases the damage of each shot, and like the Dango is stackable. Much like the Dango, unless you have other stackable passives to add to, this is a must buy on site. Magician's Basic Study. It makes your magic circle hurt shit, nobody's gonna complain about that. While it is a cheap, stackable and helpful magic circle upgrade, especially helpful if you're the sort to spam magic circles right on a big fairy's face, it's definitely a little more niche than the coming circle upgrades, so we'll call it generally good. Sutra of Dramatic Power. Would you look at that, it makes a core mechanic of the game, the bullet money producing magic circle, bigger, and it's stackable and cheap. This isn't just a must buy, this actively belongs in its own BMoB exclusive priority set, Magic Circle Upgrade. Beauty of Destruction. This is a little more expensive, but there's a damn good reason why. Clearing a share of bullets in your magic circle, when synced with the above Sutra and Guardian Hound's cooldown buff, is fucking OP. There's only 3 stacks, with the third stack being a whopping 450, even on discount, but honestly starting with a single stack and buying a second stack when you can is enough to significantly increase your chances of a good run. Magic Circle Upgrade. Dragon's Passage. Oh look, an actually shit magic circle upgrade. Surely it lasting longer is good, I hear you say. Wrong! See, the issue is, as it lingers, it's no longer able to be repositioned. Meanwhile, if you max stack the Guardian Hound's cooldown buff, you basically have the magic circle up permanently, and can readjust it however you please in the process. This is just a nerf once you have enough CDR. Waste of money. Unleash the Guardian Hounds! Alright boys, here it is. Objectively the best fucking card in the game. The magic circle is how you get bullet money beyond grazing, so being able to reduce its cooldown to spamming levels is how you farm bullet money, to the point that any other upgrades is easily in your price range. And max stacks the cooldown is basically 2 frames, meaning a near permanent magic circle. Combined with other magic circle buffs and this breaks the game over your knee. The very top of magic circle upgrade. Gale Getter. Speed isn't a bad thing to have, but in BMoB the clear focus is on micro-dodging dense patterns with a lot of bullets to graze and using your magic circle, not speedily resetting stream attacks which you can already reset with your magic circle. It increases the speed of magic circle placement too, but I've never had significant use of this aspect of it. Unremarkable. Life Explosion Elixir. It's a life, along with a passive that's only worthwhile if you die, meaning it's only useful if you're already struggling. The definition of a crutch item. Bumper Crop of Life. It's a non-stackable, slightly more expensive life. The only benefit it has is that you can start with it as a funds bought passive. Guess it doesn't count as a life stack too, so it keeps lives cheap. It's genuinely not worth buying post-wave. It's only good to start with. Waste of money. Indomitable Meathead. Oh look, another passive which assumes that you're not only losing lives, but buying enough to make this any better than an overpriced Dango. And yeah, this is just Dango, but you have to die to get any advantages, and it takes fewer slots than multi-stacking Dango, I suppose. Almost a waste of money, but if you buy lives you can get some use out of this. Still, you have to be playing like a complete scrub to use it. Crutch item. Phoenix's Tail. 3 lives is still good, and for some reason it counts as a passive, probably to prevent you from buying it more than once. It's okay, it's appropriately priced, but it's a bad run that needs 3 extra lives. Crutch item. Money is the best lawyer in hell. I mean, it's the same deal as before, right? And now the stakes are even higher because you can buy up to 3 times per wave. Having a lot of money is important in BMoB, and if you're getting any use out of this passive, you are by definition both sucking and losing a fuck ton of money, causing you to continue to suck as you can't buy anything. Actively harmful. Drenched Giant Snake. Hot take, but unless you have 3 Beauty of Destruction stacks, do not buy this. The reason why is it amplifies one of the underrated risks of using the magic circle. That is, the bullet slowing leads to tighter pattern clustering as later bullet waves catch up to earlier ones. Without a maxed Flander passive or maxed circle CDR, we're looking at actively harmful. Miser's advice. Weirdly, this one's a bit of a glow up, as getting to the top of the screen for an autocollect is actually challenging in later levels. If you don't have the head collecting shit for you and you've grown your magic circle enough that you're producing bullet money just beyond your collection range, this passive is damn good. And given you can buy 3 items per wave, it feels like much less of a waste of a slot. So it's actually upgraded to generally good. Offerings to a Sacred Mountain. I mean, Miser's advice does everything this does but better, but lowering the autocollect line does actually mean something in this game. However, it's basically redundant if you have Miser's advice. Unremarkable. Kiketsu Matriarch's Threat. Making more funds is just not worth the price in a whole last slot unless you haven't bought all of the funds market cards yet. Even then, if you're still unlocking items, it's probably more efficient to just repeatedly play levels, take home funds, and reveal a new market item with 100th black market. In the late game, this is a waste of money. Kaguya-hime's Secret Stash. Buffing funds may be redundant in BMoB, but buffing bullet money? Nah, that shit's great, given you ideally want a huge harvest per wave so you're handily buying 3 moderately priced items or 2 expensive items a wave. It's well priced for what it does, so yeah, it's generally good. Scam Rabbit's Foot. Increasing Graze Box increases bullet money production while micrododging, and it's cheap too. It's worth the price and I'm happy to have it as part of my build, so that makes it generally good. Pebble Hat. It's the same shit as before. Maybe being wriggle kicked is like slightly more likely this game, and individual item slots are worth slightly less, but it's still a waste of money. Danmaku Ghost. This is unchanged from and this game is all about being stuck in there weaving through dense patterns. So it's basically the ideal invisible passive to aid survival by simply doing what you're already doing, provided you're playing well. Skill expressive. Lower the survival of the fittest. Oh look, it's a flat buff to all your shots, and like the Jizo passive, it makes every dango stack worth more. Basically the damage multiplier equivalent of the Tanuki Apprentice, which is also good this game. In fact, it's good enough to be a must buy on sight. Bursting Red Frog. Same deal as before, the random occasional explosion is not enough of a range extender, and honestly a few dango stacks will do the same for cheaper. At least it's a single slot. Unremarkable. Reliable Tanuki Apprentice. Basically 4 dango stacks condensed into a single item. This is something I basically always start with. While power can be collected by coughing in in BMoB starting with 5 power is a huge fucking advantage. Must buy on site. Dragon Pipe. It's basically a life every 3 waves, which is only useful in the late game stages with 6 waves or more. At this point you should already have gotten good enough to not need so many lives in the first place. It's effectively, if bought at the earliest point, an overpriced pair of delayed lives. Phoenix Tail is at least good enough to be a crutch item, but this is a waste of money. Gluttonous Centipede. Oh, we like infinite scaling in this house. Start with it or buy it early and you'll never go wrong. Unlike Centipede, there's no 0 bomb 0 life clause, so it's just stacking until you reach the boss, which is where you'll really see the benefits. Generally good. Drunkenly Whimsical Ibiki Gourd. Basically the inverse of the Centipede passive, giving a huge initial buff which falls off. It's good if you're lucky enough to get it right before the boss, but if you get it early you're just gonna be killing your early bullet money farms and then being stuck with a useless passive late. For any shop other than the final one, this is a waste of money. Meneki Nako with good business skills. It's strange, isn't it? Give a few extra shop opportunities, 3 per wave up to 7 times, and suddenly getting an extra choice goes from kinda mid to actually pretty good. It's no longer taking up 1/5 of your buy opportunities, and it's more useful than UM's variant straight up from stage 4 onwards, so yeah, in BMoB this shit's generally good. Yamawaro Shopping Technique. Once again, the different gameplay loop recontextualizes a once mid passive, as you can buy multiple times a wave and sometimes you'll just be stuck with a shitty wave that isn't harvestable for bullet money. Making items cheaper overall is suddenly very good. In you're saving what, 30 funds per stage, so 150 at most, but in BMoB that shit saves stacks, as such generally good. Life-burning torch. I mean, there's a niche for active spammers, and even though I'm shit with actives, I gave it a spin to see if it was any good. Ultimately, its cheap price was about correct, because the cooldown reduction is nowhere near significant enough for it to be notable. It syncs neatly with the likes of the power-increasing rice cakes, but it's ultimately unremarkable. E. Irresistible Juliet fan. This is, I mean, I'll admit it, I suck far too much to use this well. It basically sets your game into overdrive mode, which is actually better for harvesting bullet money. There's a slight problem for a player like me, however. I got my shit completely pushed in. So yeah, I may have a skill issue, but this shit's skill expressive. Pristine self-confidence. The skip to boss button, especially insane if you waste starting loadout percent on it with the funds bought variant. I tried starting with this thing multiple times on stage 6 and man, I just repeatedly ate shit.
Have confidence. No confidence.
Seeing as waves are crucial for building your arsenal, this is, much like the blank card, purposefully actively harmful. 100th Black Market. It has only one purpose. When you finish a stage, if you still haven't got an item available in the funds-based market, it'll show up there now. Unless you're still cleaning your unlockables up, this shit is a waste of money. BMoB Actives, and here we are at the last section of the video. This is much less painful than the last two long form ramble fests I've created, let me tell you. At any rate, my attitude to actives remains the same. They're powerful, if I was a better gamer I'd like them a lot, but I'm just too dumb and normal pilled to use them effectively. Let's get this ranking finished. Screen border. While a few items got an upgrade by the shift in context between UM and BMoB, the screen border card is the opposite. After all, its main boon is resetting streaming against aimed shots. As it turns out, Marissa comes with her own stream resetting tool, that is the magic circle, which slows any stream and gives a brief weave and out. It's not so bad as to be actively harmful, but it is a waste of money. Miracle Mallet. Another case of an active that's fallen from grace between games, especially painful for the Mallet's case as it was quite fun in UN. Unless you haven't got all the funds-based starting items, this is just an unintuitive, disjointed clearing tool with worse range than others with equivalent or better cooldowns. Waste of money. Keystone of Endurance. This one's going to be a bit of a hot take, given how good it was in Unconnected Marketeers, but Keystone of Endurance has one thing that makes it awful for BMob's meta. When it clears bullets, it doesn't make bullet money. So it's just getting rid of bullets that you'd normally be exploiting for money with the magic circle, and to add insult to injury, the amount of side-on waves in BMoB means its front-facing clear isn't even that good for raw survival. You're basically paying a lot of money to never see money again. Actively harmful. Keystone Missile. Tenshi's new active is actually pretty good. It's got a swift cooldown, it's got offensive capability, and while it clears a path, it's brief and isn't sitting around as a long-term bullet money eraser. Much better than its predecessor for the new BMoB meta. Generally good. Moon of Madness. Oh, would you look at that, it's Keystone Missile, but with a bigger clear, roughly the same damage, and a slower cooldown. It was generally good in Unconnected Marketeers, and in BMoB it remains generally good. Esteemed Authority. You would think after the slander Keystone of Endurance received for wrecking bullet money opportunities, that something like Esteemed Authority, which exists to make bullet patterns thinner, would be receiving the same slander. Not so, however, specifically because it converts cleared bullets into bullet money. Therefore, it sort of acts as a short-term cash-in of bullet money and a brief moment of safety in exchange for a section of the wave with less overall bullet money to harvest. It helps that its effect only lasts a moment as opposed to sticking around like a monetary parasite. Generally good. Vampire Fang. So hey, you'd think that because the base kids go up close to high health Great Fairies to magic circle their bullet waves at the source, that the Vampire Fang is a gimme. But like Keystone of Endurance, the little bullet clear within its area of effect doesn't give bullet money. So great, you've just killed a huge money source, no bullet money in the process, and are high up on the screen, eagerly waiting to get fucked by the smaller enemies with nothing to show for it. Legitimately better to just magic circle and never use it. Actively harmful. Underground Sun. It's back again, and about time too, and this time it doesn't screw you over as much. It doesn't cost power anymore, as Zun seems to have realised that the absurd cooldown time and the fact it obliterates the ability to collect bullet money for a short while makes up for the benefits of being an invincible killing machine. Still an item that you'd only use if you're really struggling with a wave to the point of foregoing bullet money. Crutch item. Item season. Somehow BMoB made Lillywhite even less rewarding. She adds to the already chaotic waves, getting more dangerous every summon, for the brilliant reward of some funds and bullet money. You know, the shit every other enemy is giving you anyway. Legitimately using it is just a hindrance, actively harmful. Heavy bass drum. Oh look, it's how to do clearing in BMoB. It's quick, clears the area directly around you without significantly hurting how harvestable the wave is, and it has a short cooldown. If you're the sort of player that wants a clearing active in BMoB, this is the premier one. Generally good. Psychokinesis, a longer term, larger, longer cooldown bass drum, just like Below the drum, but still generally good. Spirit Power Sample Bottle. Imagine the version, except getting power is no longer as easy as it is in and you aren't even doing something cool like Master Spark, albeit it at least produces bullet money when you clear. Still, using this means actively screwing yourself over in the long run, and as there's a lot of ways to get through in later levels, you do not want to be doing that. Actively harmful. Great Tengu's Barley Rice. Oh, would you look at that, Megamoon Sakasa having thematically opposing actives. Never saw that one coming. Yeah, and BMoB steadily gaining power for no cost other than cooldown is fucking amazing, and it saves you money on Dango stacks while taking up a single card slot. Definitely a must buy on site. Smelt Scales. It's brief invincibility at a moderate cooldown. That's all, and it's cool for what it's used for, not screwing over bullet money collection at all. Generally good. Too honest signpost. You know, I don't think it's the thinness of the clear that's insulting to me, it's the fucking delay beforehand. If you're gonna make an item whose description outright mocks its middling effect, it should at least come out fast. Waste of money. Hasty Detour of the Three Crossings. It's the signpost, but horizontal. Waste of money. Nimble Fabric. And the last one is from our girl Seija Kijin, the Nimble Fabric. It's actually really fun to use. Has a shorter cooldown than Smelt Scales, a longer invincibility time, with the catch that you can't move during the invincibility frames. Basically made for when you have to let a particularly dense wave pass you by, and it does its job well. Generally good. And like that, the ranking's over. I'll say, sitting down to properly evaluate the items like this really made me rethink a lot of the mad shit I was talking in the section of my Touhou shots tier list. No, I'm not remaking that video's segment. I never want to hear my recordings for that goddamn video again. At any rate, I always liked and BMoB's gimmicks, and the fact it's rich enough to get its own mini tier list beyond my huge fucking tier list video is a testament to how bloody cool it is. Oh wait, I forgot the best ability card of them all. One so amazing you can't even buy it in the shop. That's right, all hail the Spell Fragment!